The People's Democratic Party has summoned the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to face its disciplinary committee. Now, this is over allegations of anti-party activities. The Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Ibrahim Abdullahi, reveals that the party resolved or received multiple petitions accusing Mr. Wike and others of sabotaging the party during its primaries. And these petitions have been referred to the Disciplinary Committee for investigation. Meanwhile, Mr. Wike has threatened to spark what he calls a political crisis among the PDP governors who interfere in River State party affairs. And Mr. Abdullahi expresses disappointment and disapproval of the minister's statements, deeming it wrong and unacceptable. That's what we want to discuss now. As we bring in to discuss these issues, public affairs analyst is also the convener of the Reset Lagos PDP and a member of the National Presidential Campaign Council. Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, welcome, and it's good to see you again.
Good morning.
Welcome. So where do you stand in all of this? You're a staunch member, stakeholder in the party, the PDP that is, and with all this back and forth, Mr. Wike in the news, threatening to bring fire in the states of governors who interfere in the issues in River State. What do you think?
Well, you know, politics is defined as war by other means. So it continues. There's always a problem one way or the other, where one place or the other. So at this point in time, when we have a crisis in the River State chapter of the PDP, you know, when people say we have a crisis, I say no. Nigeria has a crisis of pricing, oil, security. We have a crisis in the country. But PDP doesn't have a crisis per se. The crisis is in the River State chapter of the party. I won't say that, yes, you're right. The committees are in place, the Disciplinary Committee and the Reconciliation Committee in place to salvage the situation, bring normalcy to our relationships, and prepare the party to save Nigeria in 2027 as a unified force.
And do you think Mr. Wike should face, the disciplinary committee? There is also a reconciliation committee, but which do you think better works in this regard?
Both of them have to work simultaneously. I think what we have seen is a reaction to what former Governor Wike said. There are congresses in River State that he would set fire to the states that where governors support Fubara. But all the governors support Fubara, every governor. And the BOT of the party has also sent a delegation led by the chairman of the BOT, the former senator or Senate president. And they all went to River State to pledge their support for Fubara. And now the National Working Committee has set up a disciplinary committee and a reconciliation committee, all of them to participate in the effort to bring peace and to bring normalcy. So all the three major arms of the party, the NEC, the NWC, the BOT, they're all in support of Fubara. And they're all communicating with Wike to sue for peace. So the process goes on.
All right, I just want to pick it up from what you've said. You said that there is really no crisis in the PDP, just at the River State chapter level. I just want to be sure of that. So what's the need for the disciplinary committee? Let's not forget that there have been agitations in the past few months, especially following up to what happened after the presidential election. We had the PDP chieftain, Bode George, throwing some words back at the presidential candidate. That's not just a River State matter. That is a national matter. Is that not a crisis?
That's not a crisis. That's a disagreement. That is, those are challenges that every party faces. If you want to say that, then the APC has a crisis because in Kano, everything is upside down. In Kaduna, problems everywhere. The national chairman of APC doesn't know whether he's chairman today or tomorrow. So That it goes on in every political party. I don't like the idea of people saying there's a crisis in PDP. This is the agreement. We have a committee, disciplinary committee of about 20 people. And Chibode George is one of them. And he says he doesn't accept the chairmanship of Tommy Kimi. That's his business. He's only 1 out of 20, so that's not a crisis. The committee is going on with his work. There are 3 or 4 former governors in that committee. There are 4 or 5 former senators in that committee. There's a former national secretary of the party in that committee, Ibrahim. So the committee is a formidable committee and is doing its work. The fact that one person in that committee says, I don't want to work in that committee, does not create a crisis.
Right. And, you know, another leg to the question Olamide asked also, you know, because in its bid for reconciliation, let me just pick on reconciliation now. In its bid for reconciliation, there is no how that the party will not have to backtrack a bit, you know, look at what went wrong during the last general election, specifically the presidential election. And that had, for a long time, you know, we could even say it remains the grouse of Nyesom Wike, how that Atiku Abubakar emerged as a presidential candidate, and then the issue regarding zoning, why there should also be a chairman from the northern extraction and, you know, a northern presidential candidate. Somehow one would expect, a stakeholder as yourself would also expect that perhaps we revisit that saga, you know, to move forward.
That is the purpose of these committees that have been set up. Review what happened in 2023 and try to find resolution or solutions to those problems. What happened in 2023, I think the leaders of the party realize now that they understand now what they need to do. What happened in 2023 was this. According to the constitution of the party, we always have the election of the national chairman before the election before the primaries, which will bring in the presidential candidate. So we know. Ayu was in office already. And he said at the time, if you remember, it's on record, that if a northerner emerges as a presidential candidate of the party, he will step down. What happened was that he didn't step down. So what do we do to correct that now? My suggestion has always been, now we know this is what we're supposed to do. Put it in writing. Don't just hope that the man will keep his word. Put it in writing. We've had that crisis before, where in 2015, I think some faction or group in the party said they didn't want Jonathan to run. He wanted to run. They said he agreed that he would not run. But all of that is verbal. Now we know we need to put it in writing, okay? That's one. And something else happened in 2023. They set up a committee, a 36-man committee, to look into the idea of zoning. They came up and said, no zoning. Anybody can contest. That's why Atiku contested. So now, if you're going to go into the issue of zoning or no zoning, there has to be a clear-cut agreement. And everybody has to sign on that we have agreed that this is what we're going to do. So the constitution has to be reviewed, the party constitution, and all the people talking now and creating chaos and problems about we're going to revisit. Yes, we have revisited. That is the purpose of these 2 committees, to revisit the problems of the past. So if you don't want to participate in these committees, then you don't want to solve the problem. Then you are part of the problem. So the party has set up committees to look into our issues, to resolve them, and prepare the party to win election in 2027 and correct the problems we have in Nigeria now, save Nigeria from chaos, economic chaos, security chaos, government. Incredible what is going on in this country. Now, we've never seen anything like this before. I was just coming now and I saw queues everywhere for petrol. There have always been queues. We've always had problems, but never like this.
Yeah, but the government is saying,
like this.
Yes, but Dr. Pierce, the government is saying these are needed economic reforms after the years, of misrule. This is a commodity that, has seen so much abuse
total
administration.
Nonsense.
So it maintains that it's on a path. It's on a path, however painful, but it has to be done to
President Tinubu is confused, is lost. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's going to end up the worst president in the history of Nigeria. I'll tell you why. The day he decided, on the day of his inauguration, to remove fuel subsidy, I was one of the first people called on national media to comment. And I said, what he's done is going to cripple the economy. It's going to affect security. You know why? What was proposed to him by IMF and World Bank is not new. We had it in 1986 to 1993 called SAP. What did he do to the economy? What did he do to the country in general? He sapped the economy. He reduced the economy. Now, the same thing happened in the 90s when IMF suggested it to South American and Central American countries. Those who accepted it collapsed the economy. And he should have known that. And if he didn't listen to those of us who were saying it, I'm not an economist, but I know economics to some point.
Right.
Where all the economists that have come after that have said, now he's saying, no, we've had this before. Of course we have problems.
Unfortunately,
never like this.
We are not here to discuss, the administration or the economy. How, the PDP would be a formidable, opposition. Of course, before we even get to that now, how the PDP will, reconcile. If it has to discipline, if it has to clean house, let it by all means. And we hope that you will, help to do justice to that. On the issue of summoning Mr. Wike, because he happens to be the eye catcher, by observers, non-party members. What do you think Mr. Wike wants? Really? This is a man, a former governor. He has also, he's also in an unprecedented position, an opposition member in the Tinubu administration, and now but he insists he remains a member of the PDP. What do you think he wants with his outbursts and his position that he has always clearly stated?
I don't know what he wants. Only he knows what he wants. All we do in the party is to make sure that whatever he wants does not destroy the party. Whatever he wants does not. By the way, let me commend the media for your concern for PDP. Because your concern for PDP is your concern for good opposition for Nigeria. So I commend the media for that. That's why I also commend, in extension, I commend the media for looking at what is going on with Wike and the PDP. He's one man. He has his challenges in River State. He has his work to do in Abuja. So let's all see how this will pan out. Because now the Governors Forum has issued a statement warning him, advising him to eschew peace. And the last paragraph of their memo was actually very, very disturbing, almost alarming, where they say that the security agencies of Nigeria should look into what Wike is saying. That means it may be in trouble even with the national security.
But do you agree?
Anybody who says he's going to put fire to anybody anywhere is looking for trouble. So, of course, I do agree.
All right. This also, brings up how accountable he is really to that community and how this would actually work. On the newspapers this morning, how accountable he is. Well, on the newspapers this morning, we had, I think, Edwin Clark telling the Inspector General to actually charge him for treason. Yeah. You mentioned that in this committee there are some governors there. Am I right?
Former governors, yes.
Right.
Former senators.
We've also had, a PDP stakeholder here who mentioned the fact that to an extent, those who form the party are the ones who make the decisions, mostly the governors in that case. And so I'm wondering how this is going to work, especially with the fact that in recent days we could see the FCT minister saying those who decide to side with the River State governor is going to go to their state and cause trouble. So those in the committee, there are governors, there are former governors there, and he's also threatening those. He's threatening those in the committee and those outside the committee. How is this expected to work for someone that's not, doesn't seem like it's really answerable?
He has said that Wabara, the chairman of the BOT, is not qualified to be chairman of BOT. Mm-hmm. So he has knocked everybody off. Who knows what he wants and what he's looking for. But I say those who live by the sword will die by the sword.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Right. Those who live by the sword, in the context of our conversation.
What does it mean in this?
Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Anybody who goes to promote violence will end up consumed by violence.
Right. And
so that's my own way of looking at it. My advice, therefore, will be in line with what the Governors Forum memo said. Go for peace. Understand that prudence is the better part of valor. You may be a tough guy, but sometimes you get to a point you got to review your situation and maybe recant. So we still, this is the problem with the PDP. We are democratic to a fault. You know, in other parties, they would have stepped on him, they would have thrown him out, they would have... No, PDP will always allow you to express yourself. You get to a point where you get to a dead end. And I think he's getting to a dead end now.
Okay, please, let's also build up on that point, because I'm still, I still want to take you up on, you know, the Wike personality in the party, because, of course, like I said, he wears an unprecedented hat, so to speak. And I wonder if the PDP can accommodate that, or is it that he's just making, you know, the statements, his controversial statements? Is that what the issue really is, or can the party discipline Mr. Wike if it has to? Would the party, would it be a path that you would advise?
Well, we'll see how the disciplinary committee handles the situation. That's what the committee is there for. And let's see what happens with that. The party, PDP, doesn't have any problem with somebody serving in government, even if it is not a government that we are in power.
Right.
That has nothing to do with what's going on now. What is going on now is Mr. Wike's ambition to control River State, and that is, I think, where the problem is. Let him himself say what he wants. In the meantime, we're observing and we're allowing him to express himself, and eventually that the law will take its course.
Mm. And let's also talk about what peace within this, you know, giants within the party, what it will actually pose for the PDP as a formidable opposition in a democratic, you know, space like Nigeria, and also for River State. We've seen a lot in the past few months, so many statements coming out of, you know, that state. But perhaps there is an opportunity for peace. What is it going to pose for the PDP?
Well,
what are you expecting?
Even as we are now, we are moving forward. These committees will resolve the problem. They are now limiting Wike's actions and utterances to the committees that have been put in place. It's not the party that is actually dealing with him.
Not the chairman, not the acting chairman,
no.
But these
the
two
committees. Right. So that's part of the way we want to handle this situation. Note also that when the NEC meets in September, I think it's September 26th, they will decide on a way forward. In other words, the acting national chairman, will he remain as acting national chairman? Or will there be extension of the national chairman position to the North Central as it is now? Or will there be another election for a national chairman? Will the national chairmanship position remain in the north? Or will it go to the south, and so on? So once those things are resolved, and we don't resolve it in the pages of newspaper, we are going to have our Congress, you're going to have our conventions, and all of that will determine where we are going. Once we do that, we are ready for 2027. We're ready to save Nigeria from the chaos in which it is in now.
Right, and of course, you've worked with governors and former governors within the PDP, and when you look at the crisis in Rivers State, which you have elaborated on, you have stressed that all of this emanates from the crisis in Rivers State. Would you rather that things had panned out differently, that perhaps the incumbent governor had chose a different line, or for the former governor to have maybe soft pedal at some point? As an analyst, as an advocate for peace, what would you, if you cast your mind back in a bit to do a post-mortem, now how would you have expected that things panned out between these two personalities in Rivers?
Look, the honest truth is, Governor Wike said in several interviews that once you are governor, you're in charge. He said himself that he would not dare to challenge a governor because the governor has a lot of powers. He also said, even if you help somebody to become governor, once he's governor, you step aside, you step back. He has not done so. So I would blame him more than Fubara for whatever is going on now. And when a situation gets to a certain point, you, the elder, you are the ones to step back and say, okay, somebody has to compromise, but it cannot be the governor who you are threatening to impeach. Of course, he will defend himself and do whatever he can. And so I think that that is a way, so we keep on talking, we keep on discussing it and negotiating, and we'll see what happens. But I think that things are getting to a climax now, where Governor Wike, former Governor Wike, has to realize that he cannot continue to fight.
And are you hopeful? Are you seeing it in his posture yet?
The situation will compel him to do what has to be done.
Right, and I know. Lamide, you come in.
You mean the party or the situation? Or?
No.
Yes, because I was
the situation in which he will find himself. Things were difficult all the time for him. But when he now said he's going to set fire to the governors all the governors normally, they issued a statement. When he was governor of Rivers State and he had issues, the Governors Forum came, supported him, as they always do with one of their own. So Fubara is one of their own. Now they're supporting him as they always do. So I think that, you cannot, anybody who fights, declares war against the clan will always lose. May take a long time, but they will lose.
And, I think that to an extent, this has also, brought up other issues like other stakeholders within the party, how the party intends to, manage its image as regards not having major stakeholders just, release some statements without having to look at what effect it will have on the party. I think that is another issue to be addressed, especially...
You're right. Again, as I said, the PDP allows people to express themselves freely. And frankly, if you evaluate the so-called major stakeholders properly, they are people of the past. They're gone. They don't really have the power they used to have. You cannot stop people from making their comments in PDP. We don't stop. It doesn't matter what they say. As I said, Out of a committee of 20 people, one stakeholder is not the other governors. There's nothing anybody can do in PDP that you don't have a match, somebody who will match you in terms of your credibility, your personality, your background, your achievement. You could have been a governor. You will find 10 governors there. You could have been an ambassador. You will find 10 ambassadors. So that's what I'm saying, that these principal people talking. By the way, notice what happened to Autumn. Anybody who is fighting the party says you're going to support the opposition in 2027, you know, you're not supporting your party's candidate. You're saying that now. We had a problem in 2023. It ended up with the loss of our presidential candidate. But that's over now. Now we are looking for a new path. And that's why we have these committees to resolve the matter, so that we can come together in unity and in peace, so that we can make progress.
Right. We'll see how that pans out. Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, we thank you very much for your contributions on the program.
Thank you.